Hello, my name is Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're going to finish off the 3-speed reverse that we've been working on. And as you've seen in past weeks, we've done everything from fixing the 4th gear so it won't leak, to figuring out needle bearings, to doing all the things that need to be done. Well, this week we're going to put it all together, button the baby up, get her ready to go. So stick with us, let's get at it. So I'm just going to check down in here, and this is the reverse gear here. I've got it pushed over to the side. There is a spacer that goes in there. Just get a 12 in there. So that's all right, 12 thousandths clearance. Is not a whole lot, and there is no real spec for that. There is a little washer that goes in there that keeps it out so that it'll stay off of this race. As you can see, it keeps it off clearance out of there, so there's no interference. 12,000 clearance in there, that's fine. In time the thick oil and such gets in there, that will be just great. I can hear it, you know, clicking a little bit there, but everything's nice and clear, you know, nice and clean. I can hold this gear, turn my shaft nicely, no problem at all. And the whole thing is nice and clear with no noticeable up and down movement. So we're looking good. Our gear will go between them, no problem. Shifter clutch. All right, so we're about ready to put our countershaft in. As you've seen, I already put my countershaft in there and tried to figure out what I need. I need like this 86 thousandths of an inch spacer in there, which is going to give me 6 thou, I think. But we'll see once we get the needle bearings in, and it's a bit of a trick to get it all in there right. So I'm just going to have to work away at it and see what I can do. So first thing I'm going to do is put my needle bearings into my countershaft gear, make sure it's cleaned off nice, put my bearings in there and get it ready to put in. So now we're going to go along and put our countershaft needle bearings in place, and inside of the countershaft there's always a small washer, a thick washer like this. And that goes down in there on the C-clips. Make sure your C-clip is in good shape there. A little touch of grease around that to help it stick. And we'll do this side first because it has the washer on the outside to keep them in place. And I've got 22 bearings here for each one. They're sort of greased up, but I'll put a little bit of grease around in there to help hold them. And we'll start putting them in. Press them all in there so the grease is out of them. And we'll put some grease on our end plate here to help it to stick. There we go. Just to make sure, although they're standard bearings, they should be fine. That just fits in there just nice. No play. So that's what we're looking for there. Gently turn it over. Drop our little washer in again. Some grease on that. Now this side doesn't have an end cap, so it makes it a little bit trickier when you get to the other side trying to get it in. There's a good sticky grease for in there. And we'll put 22 bearings in there, same as the other one. Try not to drop them down inside because that could be a bit of a nightmare trying to get them out. Last one. If the bearing, little one, doesn't seem to go in, just give them a good press around. Make sure that they're, you know, the grease may be holding them out a little bit. I'm just going to try my shaft in there. All right. So although it felt like there's a little bit of play there, and there is some wear there, what I thought I'd do is take the next size bearings, because I can't hold the inside of it or do anything about that. and we have a new shaft, so we know how that fits. But out of curiosity's sake, I took 0.0004, which is 4/10,000ths of an inch, and tried to put those bearings in. And as you can see, there's one right there that doesn't want to go down in there, and you can't force it in there. So there's not enough clearance between all the bearings for that to fit in. So it shows me that it's just minimal amount of wear there, even though I can feel a little bit. It's not enough to even justify putting in the next size up bearings. But I had to check it to see, and just for my own curiosity in my own mind, and now I know. So we'll go back, we'll put the standard ones in it, and we'll move on from there. So, got those in. I'm gonna put a little assembly lube on here. Put our sliding gear in. There we go. And we have our last one to go in here, and I have a new bushing for that. There's our low gear bushing. And there's a small spacer that goes in there first. Space it out properly. And this. And then our small gear, our large gear that goes in this way. There we go. All right, now the trick is going to be to get it in there, and it's all going to be in the way you hold your mouth to slide it in. So I'm going to get a couple tools that I need and get ready to try it. Oh, we'll put some oil on our shaft here. Now the problem being, generally, when we do a 4-speed, we can take this and put a bit of grease on it and try to hold that into place while you slide it in. But because this transmission doesn't have this cutout up here, we've actually got to put the gear set in first and then try to get that down in there. So I'm going to gently put that down in. Try to get it in line so we can start our shaft very carefully. There we go. We're in through the first bunch of rollers. And now to get that down in there is going to be hard without dropping it down through. And I think I did drop it. Yes, I did. So, and because it's down in there, now it doesn't want to come out. Stick something in there, enough to hold it, so that I can move the shaft up and down in there, hopefully, till I can get the end of my countershaft through. Here's where we're going to run into an issue, is trying to get that centered up in there. I have the threaded piece here coming through the small hole on this side. And what I have to try and do is to move that washer up and down enough so that I can finish putting the shaft through. And there's very little room to put anything in there. Try and hook it. And I have the play I want. I've just got to get that up. There's no way to stick anything in there to get it up. Very, very difficult to get it on in there. These 3-speeds can be quite a patience tester. So I'm going to take a moment here, see what I can get geared up to go down in around that, like a heavy piece of wire that I can scoop down underneath of it and possibly slide the thing up into place or move it back and forth. So I'll see what I can get geared up and then I'll come back. Just got to move that up just enough. There we go. I believe we've got it there. Shaft is starting to come out through, so none of my needle bearings have fallen down on me, thankfully. And I'm gonna try and get a measurement in there. We were shooting for 7 or 8 thousandths in there, I think is what we were at. I can just get 10 thousandths in there. Now 4 is the close, you know, close fit. So I'm an extra like 6 thou, but 6 thousandths of an inch is not enough to fool with. I know from before, if I try to change that up another 4, I'd have to go up another 4 thousandths anyway, which would leave me with 6 or 5 maybe. And sometimes when you do all that, it's not exact. So the actual specs on the end play for the countershaft for these older models, they say 8 to 12 thousandths, and 10 thou being the ideal. So we're not going down to 4 like they do on some of the later transmissions, but seeing it's between 8 and 12, and 10's right in the middle. It's right where I'm at. It's right on the money. So that's where we're going to leave it. It's looking good. I finished tapping this in. I've put a little oil around the end of it just to oil up that O-ring as much as I can. I did when I installed it, but we want it to go in place there. Okay, need to turn that in there, and it's fairly snug. It doesn't really want to turn, but I think if I can tap it back out just a little bit. There we go. I just tap it back a little bit, just slightly back, and take some pressure off it. I'm able to turn it where I want to be. Make sure that our locking plate will go on where we want it. That's what we're looking for right there. Now we'll tap it in. There we go. So this is what we mean with the flat spot was here. So we had to turn the shaft in order to get the flat spot here where we needed it. Sometimes it just takes a little fooling with it. Put our new locking tab on there. And we've put a little Loctite in. And there is no real spec on this one. They just say tighten it up. Use your own discretion. Be able to lock a few of the tabs down. So we're going to go a little more. There we go. And that'll enable us to get 2 of these tabs down snug. Get a big set of pliers, something that I can get a bite on the tab. There we go. Okay, that's one. We can get this one on here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Sometimes it just takes a little fooling around, but you figure out a way to get her in there. We are looking good, looking good. So what we're going to do now is check our shift forks. And we've slid our shift forks in place. One is bent quite a bit, and that goes over to the countershaft, and the straight one goes over to the main shaft. Now our nuts here always have to be on the outside, just like the early transmissions. The cow pies and that are on the inside, but these ones are always on the outside. And we've greased these up good, and we've put new top hats on here. So we believe we have it in a neutral position. Just going to slide our lid on. We'll turn our transmission, and I'm holding the 4th gear in place, so I know that I'm in neutral position here, and that's where we want to be. So we very carefully try to wiggle the top off, just very, very gently. It can stick on the pins a little bit, but we want to be careful that we don't move it around. All right, now I got enough there. I can just pop it up off the pins very, very gently. We don't want to disturb anything inside. So we're trying not to move it. There we go. Now what we're looking for is the clearance down in here between these two gears. And although it's probably hard to see there, the cogs that are sticking out on this gear, we need 55 thousandths clearance there. And I've got a 55 here. I'm just going to slide it in, and that will just go in there. Just barely moved it. So that looks about right. I don't think we'd fool with that at all. And down in between those gears, I would say that we are about in the center there. I just want to pop the lid on one more time and see. To be sure, our lid should pretty well go right on there. Slide right into place. Maybe just spin that. Try to just get it off there very easily. Looks like that might be a little bit one side over there, so we may have to put a shim in that just to bring it over this way a little bit. So I think I'll get set up and do that. I was going to take this one shift fork out. I'll probably have to lift the tranny off where I have it here to reset this, but it certainly looks to me like it's got to come over a little bit. Maybe just a shim out of there. One shim maybe. Well, I'm going to pull that out. Let's see about removing. Which way do I want to go now before I take it out? We have to remember. Reduced in there. All right. I'll get that apart and come back. So I bent the tabs back and I've loosened off this nut here. And what we need to do when it's installed is we need to bring the arm over this way. Now, I don't know whether there's shims in behind this, I'm hoping. Certainly got a lot piled up on the outside. Oh, and there are some shims on the inside. I'm going to take probably two of them out. Leave one in there. Back in the key slot. And there's a countersunk part of this nut. You can see the countersink in that. And that countersink needs to go in. A lot of spacers in it this way, so it probably will be all right, but make sure that that lock is in the key slot. Okay. All right. I've taken two out, tried to move it over a little bit. Bit, so it's in line. Just making sure I'm in neutral there. Be very careful that you don't move them. It's so easy to disturb them coming off. We moved it over, but moved it over a little farther than what we anticipated, so we're going to have to reset it again. It's something that just takes a little bit of time fooling around with it, so we're just going to put a spacer in, take it out, measure it, check it, take it out, measure it, check it, and get it as close as we possibly can. So I'll come back when I've got it all together. So it looks like we've got our spacing right. Put a new locking tab on there. And these have to be tightened up. There is no torque, but you don't want to tighten them too tight. They could distort the body. Yeah, we just like put a little never sees on the end of it there. make sure and get this one turned. It's a small indentation on the shaft right here. It has to line up with the pin. Oh, and I gotta get a seal. Small O-ring for the shift shaft. You can't get the flat ones anymore. Line it up so that the little slot is straight. I've ordered them twice, and these are what I get, so. Like it. And you have to put this little tiny pin in there. It has a long part on it. It should go down in there. And that's our shift shaft lock. Don't force this, make sure you get it so that it's proper. Okay. So, it should be good there, I'm hoping. Neutral. There we should be engaged in reverse. And we are. This one is engaged over here, engaging this one. And we're centered up in these ones here. We've got good engagement there. Okay, so we'll go back the other way, one. There we go. Just give it a little spin there. Again, we're checking. We're still centered up in these two gears because they're not engaged. And now it's shifted this one over. So second gear is engaged in there. That's what we're looking for. And it's good engagement on the gear. That's what we want.
Expose the internals, let the light blow. Inspect the gear stack, make sure it's right.
This would be neutral again.
Measure the gaps,
neutral.
Keep the spacing tight. 1, 2, 3, line 'em up, feel the flow.
Second.
Reverse is tight, spacing right, let it go. 3-speed Harley, she'll glide and roll. Gear check groove.
And third.
Keep her running more.
And third gear, engaged into the high gear.
Slide each gear, let the forms
Oh, I've checked it in between each gear to have a look at it, and it all looks pretty good. So I just put a couple screws in the box so I can see where I'm at.
First, second, third.
We're high gear there.
Tonight,
Second,
needle bearing set side to side.
neutral.
Play just right. 1, 2, 3.
There.
Light 'em up, feel the flow.
First,
Reverse is tight.
reverse. First,
3-speed Harley, she'll glide and
neutral there.
gear check groove. Keep her running more.
Second. And third. Here we go. All right. So it looks good, shifts good. You know, they're always a little weird with the stick shift on them, and there's a lot of room between each gate to get it into place so that you don't hit like a false neutral in the things. So I got to put my seal in. So I think I'll get my sprocket on if I got enough room there. I think I'll reverse it so it's a little easier for me to work with. And we'll be ready to button her up. So we just got to go around and really do all the little things now and put the sprocket on. But I'm going to put the silicone in places that I want to put them in. I got to get a gasket for this, so I got to go out and get that. So we've got it about ready to go. I've taken some clear silicone and just put around these pieces here, these areas, just as a added bonus. And we need to pull this out a little bit. If we shove the spacer in and then we try to put a double lip seal on it, what'll happen is it'll pop the seal out and basically ruin the seal. But it's a little tricky. We're going to slide this back in there, just around where it's supposed to go. So as I was saying, we pop this out so that we can get the seal on there. And I have my O-ring and stuff in there, so I can't pull it all the way out. Put it around the outside of it. Put the slide in, split, cut in. This will go inside. I'm going to try to get it started on that without shoving it in. So I'll just work it around. There we go. There we go. We've got it on in place. Just slide it in there. See if we can get her started in there nice and square. Go, and we're in there. And we need to move this around. Pretty close there. Put our little small key in. This little key that goes in, the long end goes in the groove, and the short end fits up in the gear itself there. Sprocket is flat on one side and grooved on the other, and the groove side goes in on these. And before I put that in, I'm just going to put a little smear of silicone around the outside of the seal, because if there's any small irregularities or anything like that, it never hurts. Probably don't need it, but I always do it. And we don't get it on the seal itself. Just around the lip. It's just a little bit of added precautions. It can't hurt. I always do it, whether I need it or not. I do it. Okay, we'll get our new sprocket on there. Enough room for my lock. I always like to put a little dab of red Loctite on it. Tighten it in, and I'm snugging up that O-ring in there. And we're just going to torque that nut 50 to 60 pounds, left-hand thread. A couple tabs locked down on it. Now I do have to put a screw in the bottom, my transmission bottom screw in there, which has a brass washer on it, which goes over the shoulder on that. Red sealer there. Something extra. Get our gasket on. Be sure that the little round divot here is down here. It's easy to miss it, and if you miss it, it will leak. And you'll go, oh, why is it leaking out there? Because your gasket didn't match up with the small curve in the bottom. Very common. I've done it myself. He has geared up for this, but alright, that can be it for today. I'm gonna have to take that off. I've got two of them stripped. This one stripped. So I guess we'll be finishing these up tomorrow. It's after 5 now, and I'm not gonna start with a helicoil. I'm not even sure that I have a 5/16 helicoil, and they're not shipping helicoils to Canada. Go figure. I tried to get some 3/8 helicoils a few weeks ago. Couldn't get any. And all the suppliers said that they can't get helicoil kits. So I don't know what we're gonna do up here. Glue them together with fucking crazy glue. Tell you, if something doesn't change here. That one don't feel too good either. It's bad when they strip out on these transmissions, because there's not much meat in there to begin with. Some of them are very shallow holes. Alright, that's it for today. We'll deal with it tomorrow. And I got a couple other things. I got to put the top on this. I got to soak it down with stuff. So I'm pretty well done except for this. So we're getting there. It's not a problem. You know, the only problem I ran into was with the bearings and putting those in. And I used 43 instead of 48, which is acceptable, and I got a little kind of special thing that, you know, for those of you who are interested, why and how it actually works with 43 instead of 48 when you're going bigger. There's not enough room for the bearings in there, but I'll try and explain it out as best I can and hopefully help some of you out down the road. Okay, that's it for today. I'm done. So today we've got a couple holes here that are kind of stripped out. We're going to try to put a helicoil in them. I'm going to drill that out. Should give us enough on that one. Okay, now we get our tap, put some tapping fluid on it. Make sure you're in there nice and straight, square. There's always these small unforeseen things that you run into. But now's the time to catch them. And these taps are pointed on the end. So I have one that's also cut down like that, so that it'll go into the bottom all the way. Now sometimes if you don't do that, what can happen is that as a helicoil goes in, it wants to compress, and then your threads will only go in part way and start to lock up on the helicoil. So by running the bottom tap in, it gives me a nice square hole all the way to the bottom. So I'm really just chasing the thread except at the very bottom. And I can feel it At the bottom there. Each time clean the threads out. There we go. These out. And I always put a little bit of red Loctite on them, just a dab. My tool I lost or broke a long time ago, so I had to take a bolt and grind the end of it. Give me a little hook in the tab so I can sink these in. And you always make sure that your helicoils go down below the surface by 1 or 2 threads. That's as far as she's gonna go in there. All right. After a little fooling around, we got our second one in there. Gonna break the tab off. Tab out. Okay. Now let's see if one of these will go in. Now, go back to getting our gasket on again. Slide our throw bearing on there. Now I'm just going to check and see if I've got any smaller washers. So it's nice to be down to it. We're getting there. There's always things that are, you know, that you've got to make work. For now, we'll snug these up. All right, now take the cover off there. Got my screws all ready. Go in here. So I had a little bit of a problem with the video earlier, so I'm just going to go over this. And to show you what we're measuring is for the countershaft end play is right down in here. Now you can get to the face of the countershaft in between that and the spacer that we've put in place. And I did, you know, I was like this a lot with the other one, trying to see where to go. And I'm going to just try to put it right there so that you can see. And I'm right down just between the spacer and the end of the countershaft, or you can do it between the spacer and the end of the bushing, whichever you prefer to do. But that's right where we're down in there, and we got just put our 10 thou feeler gauge in there, and we've got 10 thousandths of an inch in there. So that's about the best I can show you, but you can also feel it, and you can hear it. That's about 10 thou there. Between the teeth of these gears is the measurement of 55 thou in here, and we need them centered up. When everything's in neutral, when this one's centered between the gears, and we've got it all set up that way, so everything is good. And we'll lube her up good.
1, 2, 3, line them up, feel the flow. Reverse is tight, the space and right, let it go. 3-speed Harley, she'll glide and roll. Get her groove, keep her running more.
Now each to their own, but I like to put never seize on these top screws, because when they stick in there and they seize up, they're not any fun to get out, especially the long ones. Now with this transmission, and we'll put them around the base of here, around that area, and too many times I've had to drill them out because they were stuck in there and seized in there. And as I say, on the later transmissions where these two top ones are way down inside, that can create quite a problem trying to get them out. Drill the heads off them and try to pull the cover off. A little bit messy, but mess can be cleaned up. Also, another little tip when you're trying to move that countershaft spacer in there and it's falling down, you can get through this side with a little pick and sometimes try to hold it, but this is what I use to get it out. So it's sort of hard to see. There is my hand, and it's a fairly heavy piece of wire. What it actually is like a spring retainer on the top of an old set of forks. So it's very solid this way, so you can pull and yank, yet it's narrow enough that you can get it down inside and work that spacer around. Sometimes it'll just lay down on the threaded part there, and you've just got to get it up enough to get that countershaft through. So something like that works quite well. All right. Put these in place. And we always have to remember that this one here on this side is your vent, and it's got a tapered one like that, a tapered screw. So when you go to put that vent screw in, make sure you can breathe through it, and not to get them mixed up. That's your vent screw. Not much sense to have a vent screw there if it's not venting.
Slide each gear, let the folks glide. Clearance check, no binding inside. First, second, third, she shifts smooth tonight. Needle bearing set, side to side, play just right.
Now these need to be snugged down, but not cranked hard, because it's very easy, especially on the outside ones where there's just a small ear. You quite often see them broke off.
1, 2, 3, line 'em up, feel the flow. Reverse is tight, the spacing right, let it go. 3-speed Harley, she'll glide and roar. Gas check groove, keep her running more.
All right. Okay. The last thing we got to do is put double seals in this. So I get some seals. There we go. The old one's out. A little dab of oil. Oh, don't run away on me. Oh, help them slide in there. There we go. And that transmission is good to go. So we'll get her in the box and get her tied down like he had it, and get it on the way. And it'll be another piece of his project that he's trying to put together. And glad I could be a part of this restoration. So I'm just going to check on this here to see if this is the right one for it. Doesn't look like it's going in there far enough, but I'll check them and then we'll put a little sealer on that and tighten it up, and then it'll be good to go. If I haven't mentioned it, be sure to check out my brothers down south, Hippie's Chopper Corner, Slick Ed's Custom Cycles. The boys are at her down there, and Hippie's into the warm weather now, I think. Had that little taste of the glacier, but he's over it. We're not. More storms coming. It's winter up here. So if you enjoyed this video on the 3-speed with reverse transmission, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, do those kind of things. It helps us to grow. I know that some of these are not everybody's cup of tea, but they're all basically the same, and most of the things that we did apply to this 3-speed apply to the 4 speeds as well. So I'm hoping that by trying to point out these things and give you some tips like I did in the last video, that'll help you with your journey working on yours. There's always questions, there's always more things, there's always stuff that comes up that you wonder about, but I hope I've covered everything. So be sure to check the next video out. We're going to be working away at Josephine, and I got boxes of parts coming in. Things are starting to roll in now, so I didn't have them before, so I went along with this. But now the parts are there, so I can see what else we can get into. See you next week.